because the TID is paying for marketing for Tahoe. And maybe it is also the responsibility of the vacation owners to do the same thing. Finally, not finally, but I also think in terms of the problems with trash and those vacation owners that do not police their property, should we consider whether or not it is a mandatory or a necessity to put in bear boxes? I think we need to look at this whole situation very carefully, also in terms of whether or not we cap them. Santa Cruz is looking at that. That particular ordinance was rejected, but what it did do is to start to force the vacation homeowners to start to police themselves, and we need to do that here.
We were given the opportunity to review some of the questions prior to this forum. And this has been the most difficult question for me. I have very mixed emotions about the vacation home ordinance. I do know that it brings in $1.2 million a year in TOT. But I also feel the importance of community. And I've been lucky. I've only lived in 2 areas, and in both those areas there was only 2 vacation homes, and the majority of the other homes in my neighborhood were people who lived there or rented there long term, and that was so nice having a neighbor, and that gives you the sense of community. You can go somewhere when there's an emergency. Another member mentioned that on her street there were 7 homes next to her that weren't occupied. When I worked in the housing department, there was 50% of our homes in Lake Tahoe were not used as residents for people who lived here and worked here. At that time, we had people who wanted to live here. Right now it's a little hard getting them and keeping them. The latest figures I heard was 70% of our housing stock is not being used as a local residence. And so I have mixed emotions. I think a good compromise to me would be to do moderation and possibly put a limit on them. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, vacation rentals, something I have quite a bit of experience with working at the Tahoe Keys. There are many issues regarding the vacation rentals. First is the overcapacity that we have right now. We're not filling these properties, and as many of the realtors know, the value of these properties is tied to the occupancy and revenue generated from these properties. So if we want to improve property value, we must improve occupancy. How are we going to improve occupancy? Well, first of all, if you rent a place in the Tahoe Keys, a house, and you bring your whole family up, and you bring your bikes up, and you bring your rollerblades up, but you find out that, wow, this isn't really very bike friendly because of the potholes and the cracks and the aging infrastructure, and you find out that your kids have a hard time riding their bikes, are you going to come back and spend that money and bring your whole family next time? So we have to understand the experience that these people are having when they come to our town, and we need to make sure that they have a positive experience so that then when they go home, they do tell those 5 friends about South Lake Tahoe and what a wonderful vacation it was. So we need to focus on the experience, and that includes infrastructure and how we can make that experience better for our tourists. The second issue regarding enforcement, city needs to work with the other agencies in town. In my time at the Tahoe Keys, I've approached the city on several occasions regarding our infrastructure, but the city's never approached us on enforcing TOT within the Keys. I don't understand why. We can enforce TOT within the Keys. Vacation renters want to use our amenities. They want to use our pools, our tennis courts. They want to get a pass for the pools or tennis courts. They need to be a registered vacation rental property. Seems pretty simple, but the city hasn't approached us to do that. So the city needs to be working with the other agencies in town collaboratively on these issues. Another one, let's talk trash, because garbage is an issue. Why does South Tahoe Refuse not have a place for people to dump garbage on Sunday? People leave on Sunday. What are they to do with their garbage on Sunday? We need to have a place to put garbage on Sunday, and that's not the Tahoe Keys, because Tahoe Keys now takes garbage for the entire town on Sunday, and the homeowners are tired of paying for it. So we need to work collaboratively with the other agencies in town and come up with some solutions, put enforcements in place, and then enforce those regulations with teeth and make fines for those that don't comply.
Doug Chahovich. I do work part-time over in the Keys also, and I see a lot of issues come up with the vacation home rentals. Over there, it's not that big of a deal where they keep it pretty much in control. Once in a while, there is noise. One of the major issues is the trash, because there's nowhere to take it on the weekends. There shouldn't be any regulations to stop. I mean, this is a tourist destination. People buy a house up here. They want to be able to afford to keep it as a second home. They want to rent it out. You know what? Unfortunately, that's the way it's becoming. We're what? 70–80% homes, especially over in the Keys, that are like second homes, or very few people live in them. And just unfortunately, like in my neighborhood too, there's a few vacation homes that are. And do I want the noise? No. But most of the time, you know, if there's an issue, you can go over and ask people to keep it down, or the police will be informed. But I don't see any issues with the vacation homes, and that's just part of our community, and it's going to continue that way. But there is an issue with the trash, and we should have access to South Tahoe Refuge 7 days a week. It's something that has to be addressed because of the homeowners. Or you're going to have to enforce getting some beer-free cans at every place, and I don't think that's going to happen.
She had an emergency. She had to take
No, I just wanted to make sure I did it.
Okay.
Kids, you know?
Kids, exactly. Okay, thank you all for your answers on that. This time we'll go right to the center to Mr. Covey. We'll start there, and we'll go toward the lake and then back this way. Okay, this question, and you all had a chance to practice on it last night. There has been recent discussion of using City of South Lake Tahoe tourist accommodation units, better known as TAUs, allocations for use outside of the city limits. What are your thoughts on city limit restrictions related to TAUs being sold?
I think TAUs are fraud. I think that they damage the economy, and I think that it's completely beyond the authority of the TRPA. Let me read to you from the TRPA's own compact, Article 6, powers. Whenever possible, think about that, whenever possible, without diminishing the effectiveness of the regional plan, the ordinances, rules, regulations, and policies shall be confined to matters which are general and regional in application, leaving to the jurisdiction of the respective states, counties, and cities the enactment of specific and local ordinances and rules, regulations, and policies which conform to the regional plan. Now, I submit that the TRPA is acting completely beyond its authority, creating a completely fictitious metric that in fact adds huge costs to developments, thwarts interest of developers and investors. It's something that was just pulled out of the air, and it is a specific and heavily regulated lien on people's private property. And because of that, I'm calling for the city to override the TRPA, to assume its rightful authority under the TRPA's own compact, and take responsibility for these issues, and not let the TRPA override our economy and our rights as homeowners, business owners, and property owners. Thank you.
Surprising as this may seem, I actually agree. But not in the way that Mr. Covey is presenting it. Bottom line is that yes, the TAUs actually are fraudulent on the face of it, in so much as we have created a commodity out of nothing. The reason that commodity was created is not because of the TRPA's initial charter, it's because of the TRPA's regional plan. First and foremost, we are redrafting, or I shouldn't say we are redrafting, the TRPA is redrafting that regional plan. And we need to be paying attention there, because TAUs are very much part of that redrafting. Now, the question was whether or not the TAUs can be moved from the city to another place. And the answer quickly is, it depends upon the situation. We've had cases where the TAUs were sold to North Lake Tahoe for a project up there, and the city never saw the benefit. We're also facing a situation where there's a position on South Shore where the TAUs may not be within the South Lake Tahoe area, but could do a great deal of service to the South Shore. Each and every situation needs to be looked at and reviewed for the benefit that comes back to the city. Also, the issue about commercial floor space. That's something that we need to look at with the TRPA in the regional plan. It is something that we can change, and we can change it now. But it requires the city to be in a leadership position on the whole regional plan, and it requires us to be united as a city on what we'd like to do with our whole plan for our city, including the why.
I actually compiled the report which the city uses for listing how many TAUs that we have and how many RUs that we have and how many SUs we have and how many acronyms we have. No, I'm kidding. I did compile the report. They are paperless commodities, and it is a very difficult and complex and somewhat stupid issue. We have excess TAUs in South Lake Tahoe. Many years ago, before the Olympics, we built 10,000 motel rooms. Okay, later down the road, we realized we don't need 10,000 hotel rooms. We have reduced that number, improved the hotel rooms that we have. We still have 6,000 existing TAUs. What we can do with the excess TAUs, which I don't 100% agree with Mr. Councilmember Cole, we can barter those TAUs. North Shore is hurting for TAUs. They have excess CFA. We need commercial floor area in South Lake Tahoe. If we have an excess of TAUs, they have commercial floor area, and we work together and trade and make it equitable to both of us. It was mentioned last night, the city can also sell its excess TAUs on the market. They're not worth very much right now, as a lot of things aren't worth what they were 5 years ago. So there are many things that we can do with the TAUs. I do not support banning any TAUs from going outside the city limits. I do not support that stand.
The issue on the TAUs is somewhat new to me, and I've had to do some reading on it after our forum last night. And I still will need to educate myself further. I don't feel comfortable enough making a statement either way on something as complicated as an asset on paper that's not tangible. There's obviously a long story behind these TAUs, and before any decision will be made, the council members will have to do their research. But I'm hesitant because I understand that whenever you sell an asset,